Hi, I'm Nicole Alvarez, and I'm sitting here with one of, you get to be humble, but I get to say what I want, one of the greatest actors of our generation. And he doesn't know this, but one of my favorites. Surprise, surprise.
Wow.
Please help me welcome Emile Hirsch. Hi.
Hello.
Listen, the way that you and I connected was through social media,
Yeah.
which is great.
We're very 2020.
We're still 2020. My favorite movie of all time is Into the Wild, and I don't know how I was on the internet. I found you on Instagram. I started following you, and the reason that I love Into the Wild so much is, well, the book is incredible. The story is tremendous, but the music is what I was drawn to.
Yeah.
Because that soundtrack to me is the greatest movie soundtrack of all time, courtesy of one Eddie Vedder. But I was drawn to the music. And then I'd been following you, and when I started seeing that you were doing music, I was so pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
So I DM'd him, and I was like, I'd like to interview you. I'm going to start with the basic, which is how were you drawn to acting, and how old were you?
I was a kid. I saw Home Alone when I was like 6 years old, and my sister, she wanted to do like musical theater, and like we ended up like having like my grandfather's brother, him and his wife were studio teachers to kids. So we'd go see him, and he'd be like, yeah, we were teaching these kids on this movie set, like Elijah Wood, and they're doing all these movies. You guys could do it too. So it kind of put it.
How old were you?
I was like 6 or 7.
Okay.
And we were like, whoa, like kids are in movies, like you can actually do it. It made it seem real. And then over the years.
So the fact that you could play make-believe all the time was kind of like
yeah,
the appeal?
I saw Home Alone, and I wanted to like be that kid in that house, just like defeating Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern.
It's a pretty damn good movie.
Yeah, and I've like had to watch it recently too a lot, because my son is 6 years old, and he like is intoxicated by Home Alone. I'm like, well, I don't want to watch it again. Like, I watched it a bunch of times, but
you open the can of worms, and now you're gonna have to.
And then it kind of just like, it sort of grew, and then I didn't really do anything professionally until I was like the old age of 10.
The ripe old age of 10.
And I kind of kicked around on like guest stars, and like would kind of drive around LA with.
Were you naturally good at it? Did you find, like, was it a struggle?
I don't think I was. I was super awkward. Like, I remember they gave me like this like cereal commercial, sides for like a cereal commercial. And I had to like go in and do it for the manager in the office. And like, I couldn't get like 4 words strung together. Like, it was really.
Well, you're 10.
No, I was like 7 at the time.
7, okay, but are you, so I don't know how far back you can remember, but are you nervous? Is it hard to memorize even like little lines? I've always wondered about acting as a kid.
People always are like, man, the people on the street, they're like, hey man, answer me one question, like, how do you learn all those lines? And I'm like, well, let me answer your question. Do you have a kid? And they're like, yeah, I got a couple kids. I'm like, have you ever gone to one of their school plays? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, your 8-year-old kid memorized an entire play. Like,
Yeah.
Is your kid that much of a genius? And he's like, oh, no.
You memorize the story is what I always thought. Like, whenever
Yeah.
it came to, we would discuss how do actors memorize lines, I'm like, well, if you memorize the story and if you become your character, I think it's easy to spew them out. But
yeah, I always become convinced that I've forgotten whatever technique of memorization or learning anything is before every movie I do.
Okay.
It's this really weird thing. Before any movie I ever make, I always become convinced that I've forgotten it all.
Why is that?
I don't know. And then after
So
like
you blank.
and
you
then
think you blank, right?
I don't know. It's just like a questioning, because it's like an unknown. And then I'll get on the set and the situation, and like a day will go by, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is really familiar.
And then you just kind of slide back into it.
Yeah, and then it really does kind of become second nature for me, because I've been doing it just for so long now.
So why'd you stay in acting? And a lot of people do things for different reasons, and all of them are good reasons. Some people want the celebrity, some people love the money, some people just really love to act and become somebody else. What was the reason that you wanted to stay in it?
I think it was something that I did it young enough, and I really had a lot of fun doing it. And I loved watching movies, and the older I got and the acting became more than just a process of making a movie, it was also like kind of roads to learning about other people's lives in a really unique way. And it became this way about learning about the world. And so many of the characters that I've played over the years are real life people. And to get to learn about the gay rights activist Cleve Jones for Milk, or Christopher McCandless for Into the Wild, or Jay Adams for Lords of Dogtown. Learning about those people, it's a really gratifying, enjoyable experience. And it's like, it's probably my favorite part of the process, where you're just learning all this new information.
And it's crazy because I'm looking at you and all I'm thinking about is Alexander Supertramp, which
Yeah.
is so cool.
Well, it's kind of surreal for me now, because Into the Wild was probably, I don't know, 13 or maybe even 14 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
It was like 13, I think.
Holy crap.
And what's so insane about that particular film is that more than any movie I've ever done, like people from around the world, like on Instagram and stuff, people from every country are constantly messaging me about it. Like,
it's very
people
powerful.
tell me like really intense messages, and
It's really powerful.
yeah, it's like it just came out or something. I've never been a part of
insane.
a movie like that, with that type of undiminished glow to it.
It's insane. I remember showing it to a bunch of people, but I wouldn't just show it to anybody because I knew that certain type of people would get and certain wouldn't. Like my brother is very straight edge and by the book.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him because he's my brother, and he just saw the character Christopher McCandless as a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
Who didn't appreciate the life that he had, where I'm the opposite of that. And so it's really curious to see what that movie brought out in people. You know that I think they prohibit people from going to the Magic Bus now because people were dying trying to get to it.
It's horrible.
I watched an interview with Sean Penn, and he was talking about your courage as an actor, especially like the naked floating scene and all that stuff. And it takes a certain amount of courage to be an actor and then go into music.
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to get judged.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And like, I'm just as guilty of judging actors that do music. Like, I've spent countless hours like just like looking up like actors who've made albums and just like watching all the videos, and like a lot of them are super cringe, but like there is like this, there is like, I hate to say it because like I'm one of them, but like there is like a little bit of like hate click enjoyability about like a really bad actor tune.
It's true. I do it too.
And like I do that, so it's like I totally get it, because like I've drank from the chalice.
You're almost looking for it to be cringe. Like you're like, oh, this guy made an album, I want it to be cringe.
I was telling like Matthew before that my music collaborator was like, we should just like advertise it as like the worst album ever, because like we'll get more people to listen to it faster.
So I didn't know what to expect. Okay.
Yeah.
Emile sent me one song first, and you know, like we were just discussing, you don't know what to expect, but I knew that you were brave and courageous. And when I listened to it, not that I expected something, I didn't. I was just, it's so artistic and so beautiful. Like is that a symphony at the beginning of American Dreamin'?
Yeah, we got like full string.
Did not see that coming. I didn't know what to expect from you, but you're an artist, and it translated. And I remember I wrote you back and I said it's beautiful, and you said it, you know, kind of came from a hurtful place, but a lot of art does.
Yeah.
So talk to me about American Dreamin'. I did not know what to expect. It truly is freaking great.
Thank you so much. Well, that song I wrote, and it's like people hear the term like American Dream, and they think it's like this perfect idealism. And there have been a lot of times in my life, you know, whether it's relationships or with family and trying to make things work and not necessarily everything working out the way you wanted it to, but there's a certain desire to have this unattainable kind of palace of perfection that you just can't quite reach. But it's like a song about acknowledging that things aren't perfect, but at the same time, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting things to be perfect.
Absolutely
and that's like
not.
a noble quality.
There's nothing wrong with it, because you want to know that you can achieve all of these things, and that it almost makes you feel like you're successful at being human when you reach that perfect ideal. But there's no such thing. And the thing about the song is you listen to it and you feel like there's almost a feeling of a broken heart in there, but the melody itself is also so beautiful. So the way that it carries the message is just, it's warm and jarring at the same time. Yeah,
there's it definitely, for me, is a very personal song in a lot of ways, and I won't get into exactly.
Asking.
No, I won't
refuse
just because
to ask that.
you never know. Like,
you want to know what's unfair though about? So you love a song or you love a band, but mainly a song, And as a music lover, you want to get inside the head of the person that wrote it.
Yeah.
But it's not fair to ask.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a...
But we deserve a little insight, but it's also without it ruining the personal. I don't know. It's a slippery slope.
I would say, like, I just recently saw Marriage Story, which is so amazing.
Me too.
It's so incredible. And it really, you know, my parents were divorced when I was a kid. And all I ever wanted was for them to get together, for them to be together. And they never did, but it was this desire that was always there. And I feel like American Dream, and there's something about the idea of the perfect American family. And I think that was something that I was really feeling at the time. And, you know, I have a son who's 6 years old, and I'm not married, and
I have a 3-year-old. I'm not married. It's all good.
Yeah, but there is a certain expectation and desire that you can't just shut that off. And I think that the song was sort of born from you know, some sort of moment of clarity in that, you know, whether it had to do with, you know, my current kind of situation, and also thinking back to the past, you know.
As an actor, when you are writing a song, do you also see a movie in your head? Like, do you marry both your worlds?
Sometimes, but not really. Like, a lot of the times when I'll write a song, it's usually just like at my kitchen island table, and sometimes I'll bust out with a keyboard or something, but and I can play like just by ear, really, really basic, like not at all. Most of the time, I'll just be like humming or singing in my head or something like that.
And when did you learn to play music? When was the first time like you played an instrument?
I can't play an instrument, and I can't really sing.
We should introduce your music partner.
Yeah.
Let me try and get it right. We're gonna meet Emile's music writing partner, and I think I'm gonna get it right. Please welcome Mathieu. Did I do it? Did I do it?
Yeah, good job.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for making the effort.
Yeah, well,
getting it right.
You say it properly. Say your first name and your last name, because I'd like to honor you in that way.
Mathieu Caratier.
Mathieu Caratier.
Also known as the Frenchman.
The Frenchman. Okay, I'm gonna go by the
nickname.
Frenchman.
Yeah.
How did you meet Emile, and how did you start writing music?
I mean, we met through a common friend. His friend, one of his best friends, starting to date one of my best friends, you know, and then I would see Emile at Christmas, Thanksgiving, and then, I mean, instantly I saw a little glimmer like in his eyes, and I'm like, I think we're gonna get along. And then I made this song for the movie Valerian, the Luc Besson movie from like two years ago, and Emile actually loved the song, not knowing it was I actually made it. And then when I told him, I was like, I think we have to get together and start working on music.
So what was the first song you wrote together?
Well, what was kind of funny about it was, at first I was super standoffish because I was like, I don't know. And I was working with a couple of other musicians, and we were making songs, and I liked what we were making with these other producers, but I wasn't quite necessarily feeling like this is it. And I went over to Mathieu's house, and I have like this book of songs that I've written that all the melodies are just in my head that I've written for the last few years. So I started just singing ones out loud to him to see what he would like. And he picked one, and that eventually became Nervous Wreck, which is on our album Mnemonic. Like, I don't know what track number is it. I don't know the numbers, but
7.
It's towards the end.
Yeah, and
it's 9. Yeah.
And then we made that one together, and I kind of recorded the basic vocals, and then he really fleshed out the whole song and sent it to me, and I played it, and I was like, they just had a quality that I really locked onto. There was something about it where I wanted to hear it again and again. And that, for me, I'd worked with a lot of other producers in the last 5 years. Yeah, it was the first time where I really had this like specific vibe that just matched. And then we kind of were both in places in our lives where we just devoted like almost all of our time to this project. Like, it was kind of a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you have a general idea of what you want this to live as? Like, will you tour? Will you ever do anything live? Will you write movie scores together a la Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross? Will you make another album? Like, what, or are you just kind of going with the flow?
I mean, all of it.
All of it? So, world domination.
I mean, we're going with the flow right now. We released this album, Mnemonic, that was...
Last year.
Yeah, late October. That was like 10 months, 11 months of our lives. And we're still enjoying to see the life, you know, it's taken a life of its own now. And and then we just couldn't stop working after that. You know, most people do an album and then just take a vacation. We didn't take a vacation.
No, because American Dreamin' is coming out in a few days.
Yeah, on Friday, on the 10th.
Yeah, and then you sent me another song, or am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
And then you sent me another song called Casual Animals. It's kind of like got this retro dance vibe that's totally different from American Dreamin'. So not only are you guys working, but you're really like, you have this universe that you're working within, and you're grabbing from all kinds of different planets. It's great. So that's not for an album, because you just put out an album. So now, I guess in 2020, you could just put out songs.
Yeah, I think we kind of want to do like one single a month.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Oh, cool.
Kind of
I like that
little
idea.
rendezvous like that. Like,
I like that idea. Will
Yeah.
you ever do anything live?
I don't know. I mean, I am an actor, so I'm used to performing, so I should. But I don't. I mean, I don't know. You should see how much like they auto-tune and melodyne voices, and I mean, you pull the curtain on it. I don't view myself as like a great live singer. Like, yeah,
But
once
do
you
you ever
melodyne me
feel
and
that-
auto-tune me like crazy, it'll sound cool when
No,
you
but
listen
do
to
you
it.
ever feel the urge to like that? I was on
Yes,
I
for
was
sure,
on okay. I
for
was on a
sure.
TV set once. I was in the TV set for 24, and Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland, during a break, he asked everybody, if you could be one lead singer on stage for one night only, like who would you want to be? And everybody was like stumped, and he was like, Freddie Mercury, because you've got that raw, like you've got the voice power and the performance. So don't you want to feel that like?
It's funny,
Brr.
I was talking to this guy in New York recently, and he was saying he had been a musician for years and years, and I'm like, but did you ever play live? And he's like, that's the only thing that made it worth it. And I was like, wow, because I love making the songs, and we kind of just make them in our cave together, like these just weirdos at the computers. But the idea of like going to a really public environment, I mean, I think it would probably be fun. I would want to really take good vocal lessons so I could be consistent
Yeah, that
and not
makes sense.
get tomatoes thrown at me as I butcher
So
my
that
own
other
song.
people won't sit there and judge the actor who's on stage.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, there is something weird about when you see the actor suddenly break out in song. I don't like, and I'm guilty of it myself, because like
We don't give those actors a fair shot, though, because a lot of them are really damn good, but in
Yeah.
our minds we still want them to suck.
Yeah.
And they
It's
don't.
so funny.
They don't all suck.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. The minute that I heard American Dreamin', I wrote you back, and I've played it for a bunch of people, and I can't wait to play it on the radio. It's
thank you.
unlike anything I would have imagined. I didn't think you were gonna suck. I just did not know what to expect from you, and the symphony, it threw me for a loop, and it was just beautiful. And Mathieu, it is
Thank
a
you.
pleasure, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you so much.
You are now part of this family, whether you like it or not. So, ladies and gentlemen, Emile Hirsch, and you say your name. Say it properly.
Mathieu Caratier.
Thank you guys for coming by KROQ. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.